Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Sean Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs announces dates for the winter session of Parliament, month-long session to start from November 16th and 16th December. First ever BRICS trade ministers meeting starts in Delhi. India, Brazil, China, Russia and South Africa to adopt framework for cooperation on economic issues. Muslim Personal Law Board rejects law panel's questionnaire on Uniform Civil Code, accuses central government of trying to nullify Islamic law. US military launches cruise missile strikes to knock out 3 radar sites controlled by Iran-aligned Houthi forces. Strikes represent Washington's first direct military action against the rebels. And Republican nominee Donald Trump's campaign for US presidency suffers another setback. Several women publicly accuse him of inappropriate sexual contact. Our top story this evening, the winter session of Parliament could be held from the November 16th to December 16th. The government is looking at an early session to help the central GST and integrated GST legislations to be approved within November or the latest by early December. The recommendation was made at a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs chaired by Home Minister Rajnath Singh. For more on this, let's go across to our correspondent Vishal Daya, who joins us live. Vishal, talking about this session of Parliament, critical for the government to get the GST in and passed if it wants to meet the GST implementation deadline.
Well, yes, indeed, that's one of the reasons why the dates for the winter session has been forwarded by a few days. In fact, a few days ago, almost around 10 to 15 days ago, the talks in the political corridor was that the winter session will most likely begin from the first week of November. But finally, the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs has recommended the dates for the winter session from 16th of November to 16th of December. Now, winter session is usually 1 month long, and same will be this winter session as well. But as you pointed out, one major reason behind forwarding the dates or preponing the session by at least a week or so was the fact that the government is very keen on ensuring that those supplementary bills with respect to the rollout of GST, they are presented before the Parliament as soon as possible and gets the nod from both houses. And given the kind of difficulty which the government faced in getting the constitutional amendment bill with respect to GST, getting it cleared in the upper house and getting a nod of the Parliament as a whole, is perhaps one of the reasons why the government doesn't want to take any chance right now. The deadline which the government has set for itself for the rollout of the GST is 1st of April 2017, and to meet that deadline, the government will have to get these couple of bills with respect which are related to the GST regime cleared in the winter session itself, probably if not by the end of November, then definitely by the first week of December.
All right, so we've discussed what is the major issue in front of the government, or the major thing on the agenda as far as the winter session of Parliament is concerned. But the opposition, Vishal, would be, of course, looking for opportunities to corner the government. So in terms of issue that the opposition is hoping to sink in on, what are those?
Well, it's another session which is going to have a lot of political argument taking the center stage during the proceedings because of two specific reasons. One is the approaching assembly elections in two important states, that's the state of Uttar Pradesh and Punjab. And in addition to that, the recent controversy around the surgical strikes and the kind of verbal duel which we have witnessed in the past 7 to 10 days between the government and the opposition position on this particular issue. So these two major issues might hold forth in the winter session, and the government will definitely have to find a middle path, a way out to ensure that there is no disruption of the proceedings and they can get their agenda, specifically the legislative agenda, specifically the GST bill, cleared in the winter session itself.
All right, Vishal, let's talk about government-opposition relations also at this juncture, because it was only in the second half of the previous session that finally consensus seemed to be emerging. The House seemed to be functioning normally. So in that sense, given what has been happening through media sound bites, as far as the government and the opposition working together to implement the GST to ensure it hits that deadline, how possible does it seem?
Well, yes, one major, grouse from the main opposition party, Congress, had been for quite some time, and before the GST bill was cleared in the upper house, it was also that, the government is not taking the opposition along. It's not, willing to accommodate the views of the opposition. And when the government finally, agreed to one of the demands of the Congress party with respect to the constitutional amendment bill regarding the goods and services tax, it was finally cleared in the upper house, and other smaller parties were also brought on board. But the conversation between the government and the opposition, which is happening right now through media sound bites, as you were putting out, and also through several statements which have been given by both the leaders of the government and the leaders of the opposition also, does not paint a rosy picture as far as the working relationship between government and opposition is concerned. The opposition would definitely want to use this opportunity, that is the winter session, to try and corner the government on several issues, and specifically the issue with respect to the surgical strikes as well. And there are smaller parties, the regional parties specifically, who would want to go ahead and score some brownie points over the government, given the fact that they are going to face crucial assembly elections in just a few months.
All right, so a little bit more than a month to go for the Parliament session, and it already promises to be stormy. Thanks very much, Vishal, for joining us with that update. Now, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs met earlier on Thursday and approved the setting up of an Indian Institute of Management in Jammu, among other projects. The project will cost 61.90 crore rupees. Till 2020, it will have a temporary campus. The announcement of the establishment of IIM in Jammu comes as part of the PM's development package for the state of Jammu and Kashmir. In an all-party meeting in August, Prime Minister Modi had announced a development package of more than 80,000 crore rupees to the state. Among the other approvals that the Cabinet declared were the redevelopment of residential colonies at West Ansari Nagar and Ayurvigyan Nagar campuses of AIIMS, New Delhi. The Cabinet also approved signing of a memorandum of understanding between India and Hungary on cooperation in water management. The CCA also approved an MOU between India and Russia on expansion of bilateral trade and economic cooperation. Now, the 8th BRICS Summit will be held in Goa on Saturday and Sunday with a new slogan to build a responsive, inclusive and collective world economy. In addition, India will lay special stress on tackling international and cross-border terrorism. Now, this is the biggest BRICS event that India is hosting. Russia organized the last BRICS Summit in the city of Ufa, where the decision was to set up the BRICS Development Bank was taken. Headquartered in Shanghai, noted Indian banker K.V. Kamath is the first chairperson of the bank. At the summit, Prime Minister Modi is expected to hold separate meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping. One of the key elements of the 8th BRICS Summit will be how the countries resolve the lack of trust among member countries, especially between India and China. The Finance Minister Arun Jaitley today expressed concern over increasing protectionist tendencies in developed economies spreading to other parts of the world. Jaitley's comments come days after the International Monetary Fund urged policymakers to support global growth by resisting protectionist forces. Addressing a gathering of financial officials of the BRICS group of emerging nations in Mumbai, Jaitley singled out Britain's vote to leave the European Union, as well as the aggressive campaign against trade deals in the US presidential election. He, however, hoped that fears about free trade will subside once the US presidential elections are over. The Finance Minister also hinted at more liberalization measures to insulate the economy from the global slowdown.
There are trends in the world today which on the surface do indicate that the world is increasingly moving towards, at least that part of the developed world is moving towards protectionism. These worries are real. And they are real because of the fact that if developed countries see a trend of protectionism, the spillover impact of those policies on other parts of the world could be extremely adverse. And therefore, we'll have to keep our fingers crossed this time and hope that the tenor of free trade returns back once the heat of elections itself is over.
Now, India's consumer price index or retail inflation eased to 4.31% in September as against 5.05% in August and 4.41% in September 2015. Rural CPI in September stood at 4.96% as against 5.87% in August and 5.05% during the same period last year. Urban Consumer Price Index in September stood at 3.64% as compared to 4.22% in August and 3.61% in September 2015. Analysts were expecting a fall in inflation in the wake of food prices softening over the past few months. Now, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board and other Muslim bodies today announced a boycott of the Law Commission's exercise to seek inputs to form a uniform civil code. The Muslim bodies have accused the government of waging an internal war against the community.
Days after the Law Commission released a questionnaire seeking responses from the public on the Uniform Civil Code, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board on Thursday accused the central government of trying to nullify Islamic law. The board rejected the questionnaire, saying that multiplicity of cultures needs to be respected.
जो सवालनामा उनको निष्पक्ष होकर करना चाहिए था, वो सवालनामा निष्पक्ष न होकर वन साइडेड हो गया है। इसलिए हम लोगों ने इसके बाइकाट का फैसला किया। जहां तक ताल्लुक यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड का है, हम सब लोगों की एक राय है कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड इस मुल्क के लिए किसी तरह मुनासिब नहीं है।
Other Muslim groups also supported the Muslim Personal Law Board, accusing the Modi government of trying to destroy the nation's plurality.
धर्मों के विरुद्ध अधर्मियों का षड्यंत्र है, इसको हम कामयाब नहीं होंगे।
I support the statement of the Secretary Muslim Personal Law Board that these type of actions create a mistrust among the communities and will lead to different forums being invoked, courts being invoked. Instead of that, if the government of India is serious about the issue, let them draft a law on the stand that they are taking one nation, one law. Let them draft a comprehensive law like they have done for the education bill and put it in public domain and then talk about it.
Women's rights activists, however, supported the government, calling for a reform of the Muslim personal law that discriminates against women.
The Personal Law Board does not speak for all Muslims all over the country. We, the Muslim women, are going to fight for our Quranic rights. We, the Muslim women, are going to fight for our rights as citizens of India.
The government's stand against the contentious custom remains clear.
हम डेमोक्रेसी पर विश्वास करने वाले लोग हैं, लोकतंत्र पर विश्वास करने वाले लोग हैं, इसीलिए हमने ओपन इस पे बहस की बात कही है, इस पे चर्चा की बात कही है, तथ्यों और तर्कों के साथ अपनी बात को सभी लोगों को रखना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये इशू जो है वो कोई आज का इशू नहीं है, बहुत बार है। तमाम ऐसे देश हैं जिन देशों ने कि इसमें रिफॉर्म किए हैं, जो इस्लामिक देश हैं उन्होंने भी कई रिफॉर्म किए हैं। तो रिफॉर्म तो हमेशा समाज को बेहतर रास्ते पे ले जाने का में मददगार रहा है।
The Law Commission's questionnaire asked stakeholders and general public the relevance and need for a uniform civil code. In addition, Commission Chairman Justice B.S. Chauhan has also sought feedback on the impact of such a code on women's development, triple talaq, polygamy and other issues. All suggestions and views need to be submitted within 45 days. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The stock markets plunged on Thursday owing to a number of factors, the top among them being the rate hike signals from the US Federal Reserve. India's latest IIP figures released on Monday also helped spook the markets. The benchmark BSE Sensex plunged over 439 points to slip below its crucial support level of 28,000. The NSE Nifty 50 slipped below 8,600, weighed down by losses in realty, power, metals, banks and auto stocks. The Sensex fell to its lowest level in 3 months as the investors trimmed their bets after the minutes after the US Federal Reserve September meeting indicated a possible rate hike this year. Caution ahead of key quarterly results dragged down heavyweights in financial, technology and industrial sectors. Weak Chinese data also hurt the markets. Time for us to take a short break. Lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Hemkund Sahib, sacred shrine of the Sikhs, widely acclaimed for being the highest in the world, located in the Himalayas at an altitude of 15,200 feet. The Gurudwara is designed with an image of an upside-down lotus flower.
I am Ishan Russell.
I'm Tracy Shilchi and you're watching News Tonight.
Together with the team of our
Dedicated professionals from across various fields.
This is Shyam Sundar, Vishal Dahiya, Akhilesh Suman,
Frank Pereira from Beijing, China.
Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
We bring to you
the news that matters here on Rajya Sabha TV.
Life after death was a cardinal belief in the Harappan civilization. Reflecting this is the skeleton of a middle-aged woman with gold bangles. Excavated from Rakhigadi in Haryana, it's an example of the burial practices in those times. Much like the Egyptian mummies, vessels, eatables, ornaments were kept near the dead body, in the hope that they would be of use to the person in the next world.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, buses and auto rickshaws were off the roads in the wake of a 12-hour statewide bandh called by the BJP in Kerala. The party is protesting against the brutal killing of a 25-year-old party activist in Pinnarai in Kannur district 2 days ago. The statewide shutdown was total as violent incidents were reported from various places, with party workers suffering injuries in clashes. BJP activist Remith was hacked to death in the hometown of Kerala Chief Minister Pinnarai Vijayan on Wednesday. The incident took place within 48 hours of the murder of a CPIM activist by a 6-member gang at the Pathariyad in Kannur district. Over 2,000 police personnel have been deployed in Kannur. The police have registered cases against 10 CPIM workers in connection with the attack on Remith. A special squad has also been formed to investigate the case. Meanwhile, the centre has asked the Kerala government to provide details of the incident and steps taken to nab and punish those responsible. The Home Ministry also asked the state government for a report on the steps taken for the security of political workers in the state.
മുഖ്യമന്ത്രി വെറും പാർട്ടിക്കാരനല്ല. പാർട്ടിയുടെ നേതാക്കന്മാർ പാർട്ടിയുടെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ വേണ്ടി പറയുകയും പ്രവർത്തിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാം. ഈ രാജ്യത്തിലെ ജനങ്ങളുടെ മുഴുവൻ സുരക്ഷിതത്വം ഉറപ്പുവരുത്താൻ ചുമതലയുള്ള ആളാണ്. അതിനുവേണ്ടി നിശ്ചയിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള മുഖ്യമന്ത്രിയുടെ ചുമതല അത് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല. അതിനു പകരം പാർട്ടിക്കാരനെ പോലെ പാർട്ടിയുടെ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ അടുത്തുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ പറയണത് ഓരോരോ കുടുംബത്തിൽ ഒരു തിരി പോലും ബാക്കി വെക്കില്ലെന്ന് പറയണത് കുടുംബത്തിൽ.
Some more national news updates now in Nationwide. In a late-night operation in Bhuj town, the Gujarat anti-terror squad nabbed 2 suspected ISI agents allegedly involved in sending sensitive information about movement of army and BSF troops to their Pakistan-based handlers. The 2 men were identified as Alana Hamir Sama and his associate Shakur Sumra. An FIR under various sections of the Official Secrets Act and Indian Penal Code was registered against the accused today. Curfew today remained in force in interior areas of Srinagar as a precautionary measure, even as normal life remained affected in the valley for the 97th day. According to a police official, curfew remains in force in 5 police station areas of downtown Srinagar. He also said that security forces have been deployed in sensitive areas to maintain law and order. The CBI today registered 3 cases to probe incidents of violence and arson during the Jat Kota agitation in Rohtak in February, including the burning of residence of Haryana Finance Minister Captain Abhimanyu. CBI spokesperson said the agency took over the investigation in these cases on the request of the Haryana government and further orders from the Department of Personnel and Training. The Election Commission will visit Punjab from 23rd to 25th October to review the preparations for the elections. During his 3-day visit, the Election Commission will meet Punjab government, civil servant and police officials in Chandigarh. The Commission will also meet representatives of political parties. Some international news now, and the United States Navy retaliated on Thursday to its warship being targeted allegedly by Houthi rebels. The US Navy hit 3 radar sites in the region controlled by the Houthis, terming the strikes as self-defense. The Houthi rebels have denied targeting the US warship.
The US hit radar sites in Yemen early on Thursday in a possible retaliation to a US warship being targeted in the Red Sea. The Pentagon termed the strike as self-defense. The US strikes came after missiles targeted the USS Mason off the coast of Yemen on Sunday and again on Wednesday. Both times, however, they missed the target and hit the water instead. The Pentagon says the missiles were fired from Houthi-controlled territory in Yemen. The Houthis are in control of much of Yemen, including capital Sana'a. However, Houthi rebels have denied that their forces targeted the US warship. The 3 sites targeted on Thursday by the US were in remote areas, hopefully avoiding civilian casualties or collateral damage. Initial assessments by the US Navy indicate all 3 targets were destroyed. The US has been at the center of the crisis in Yemen, backing a Saudi-led coalition against Houthi rebels to prevent them from taking over the country. Cracks have appeared in that alliance as well after the US said it was re-evaluating its support after an airstrike blamed on the coalition killed at least 155 people at a funeral home in Sana'a. The coalition started the military campaign in Yemen last year after Houthis drove out the US-backed government, taking over the capital. The conflict has killed about 10,000 Yemenis so far, leaving millions in need of aid. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, US presidential nominee Donald Trump has plunged deeper into trouble as he faces a series of allegations of inappropriate sexual contact following claims from several women. Although Trump's campaign denies the allegations, the claims have only damaged his reputation further.
As the date of the US presidential election draws near, Republican nominee Donald Trump's troubles are also mounting. In the latest episode, several women have now accused Trump of inappropriate sexual contact. 2 women said that the Republican presidential candidate had groped or kissed them forcibly, with the others making a similar claim. Added to Trump's recent misogynist comments being unearthed, outrage among the people is only rising.
Misogynistic, self-serving billionaire to have power to rule over our bodies, to make decisions that will have dangerous consequences for our lives and our communities, whose hate speech will continue to stoke violence against us, against women of all colors, and against my Muslim, black, and brown brothers and sisters. It's Trump versus all of us. Unendorsed Donald Trump.
Trump's campaign, though, has rejected the claims, calling them fictitious. In a public letter, his camp threatened the New York Times newspaper with legal action for carrying the story, calling the article defamatory and a politically motivated effort to defeat his candidacy. Trump's opponent and Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton called Trump an equal opportunity insulter while campaigning in Las Vegas. Clinton asked voters to reject the dark, divisive and hateful campaign run by Trump.
We now know, we've heard for months what he thinks about people, how he treats people. You know, this latest incident about, how he treats women. Well, he's doubled down. He doubled down on his excuse that it's just locker room talk. And I got to tell you, after he said that in the last debate, the most amazing thing happened. Athletes and coaches started speaking out.
Trump, meanwhile, continued to attack Hillary over the hacked email controversy, calling her corrupt.
While she was Secretary of State, she lost or it disappeared. Almost $6 billion. Does anyone know that? No. How do you lose $6 billion? Even Chelsea Clinton, in the WikiLeaks emails where it shows, expressed, quote, serious concerns about conflicts of interest at the Clinton Foundation and the State Department. Americans have had it with the years and decades of Clinton corruption. It's corruption. Whitewater.
The latest allegations against Trump come less than a week after a video shot in 2005 emerged showing him making obscene remarks about groping women. He apologized for the comments, which were widely condemned, but described them as locker room talk. Following the video, a string of Republican officials and office holders have distanced themselves from his campaign. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
American folk singing legend Bob Dylan has been awarded the Nobel Prize for 2016 for literature. The 75-year-old rock and roll legend was awarded the prize for creating new poetic expressions with a great American song tradition. Singer and occasional actor is the first songwriter to win the prestigious award, the first American since novelist Toni Morrison in 1993. Dylan had long been tipped as a potential prize recipient, but few experts expected the Academy to extend the award to such a genre such as folk rock music. Dylan was born Robert Allen Zimmerman in 1941 and began his musical career in 1959, taking his stage name from the poet Dylan Thomas. Some more international news now in Global Buzz. Thailand's king, Bhumibol Adulyadej, has died at the age of 88. The king was in poor health for a long time and has been spending his last years in a Bangkok hospital. During his reign that spanned 70 years, the US-born Bhumibol became much more than Thailand's constitutional monarch. The Royal Palace said Bhumibol died in a peaceful state. 10 more armed attackers were killed in Myanmar's western Rakhine state on Wednesday during a government operation aimed at clearing terrorist assailants from the Kaiteopon village. The government troops have detained several armed men who are currently under interrogation. A legal challenge to the British government's right to formally begin Brexit without parliamentary approval is underway. The High Court will consider whether ministers can invoke Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty, which is the trigger for formal talks, without MPs passing a new law. Prime Minister Theresa May has said she will activate Article 50 to formally notify the EU of UK's intention to leave by the end of next March. Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Phnom Penh for a state visit to Cambodia. The visit aims to further solidify the traditional friendship between the two countries and deepen their comprehensive strategic partnership. The two countries look forward to reach a series of cooperation deals to align their development strategies and boost their practical cooperation. After Cambodia, Xi is slated to visit Bangladesh and then the BRICS summit in India. Hurricane Nicole, which is on track to hit Bermuda, strengthened into a Category 3 hurricane on Wednesday. The core of Nicole is expected to pass near or over the island on Thursday. Hurricanes reaching Category 3 and higher have a potential to cause significant damage. Nicole is expected to produce total rain accumulations of 4 to 8 inches over Bermuda through Thursday. And that's all from us. Goodbye.